we're going to kick things right off with the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority announcing a reversal, 180 degrees, of the recently introduced, well, it was going to be introduced, 15% import duty on petrol and diesel. The charge, approved in October as part of efforts to encourage local refining and reduce fuel import dependence, had raised concerns over possible increases in pump prices and transportation costs. But in the new directive, the Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, says the duty is no longer in view, assuring marketers and consumers that fuel supply will remain stable nationwide. However, private sector groups warn that frequent policy shifts create uncertainty for investors, especially in refining and downstream operations. They urge government to provide a clear and consistent policy roadmap that supports domestic refining without destabilizing market prices. Joining us from our Abuja studio to give us a Chamber of Commerce perspective is Mr. Dele Ojo, the president of the National Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. You're very welcome, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. So we should be happy about this, yes? No more imports, so that means prices don't go up, inflation doesn't go up. What's your reaction to this decision?
Well, first of all, I want to say clearly misinformation. I finished my tenure as president of NASIMA in June.
So you're the former president?
I've since handed over to my colleague. Yes, I'm the former president.
All right, correction noted.
Don't think I'm sitting there. Well,
former president. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Apologies.
Okay,
Go ahead, sir.
Well, once in a chamber, you're always a chamber person. Well, the implication of the policy has both short-term and long-term effects. The short term, it provides a temporary relief where people are happy that prices are not likely to go up. But in the long term, what it simply means that government is saying whether the government is really serious or committed to its policy of creating an enabling environment. We need to protect our local industries. We all see around September last year, we were consuming almost about 60 million liters a day. Today is about 34. So what this means is that the local production have been able to augment it, and it provides a huge macroeconomic effect for all of us in terms of even the foreign exchange value and everything. So if you don't protect your local industries, there's no way they can survive. Most of these foreign industries use foreign national finance where they have 2 or 3% for trading. So you can't compete with our local businesses who have to go to our normal markets and they approach our banks at over 28-30%. So government needs to find a way to protect local industries. I'm never a fan for imposing taxes on people. But if the task is to protect local businesses and enable them to scale up and grow and provide resources and reinvest their resources in the system, we are all for it. It was not a good policy, and government doesn't make government to look good.
Right.
That's why you must never make, even when you make an announcement and you withdraw it, the immediate effect is already there. We can see the turmoil in the capital market with the apprehension over the CGT and how in 2 days we lost almost 6 trillion naira. With the assurance from the Honorable Minister of Finance, and you can see the market has started coming down. So we don't need that kind of losses. We are too fragile as a nation to be seen as serious. Yeah. We need to invest in our local refining capacity.
Yeah.
You cannot grow by, when you bring in goods into Nigeria, you are bringing in poverty.
Right.
And if we have a lot of challenges with insecurity because due to lack of opportunity, so we need to grow this economy. You can see what the United States is doing to try to grow its own industries. So government has a duty to support local industries. So the question is not whether you are removing it. The discussion should have been what are we going to do with the money that will be collected? You should have find a way to reinvest it back in the sector. And those who intend to build local refineries can have access to single-digit capital. That should be the discussion today. Yeah. So we expect government to reverse this, but also have a transitional arrangement, call a stakeholders meeting, and find a way to protect our industries. We cannot compete with those organized systems where they have access to single-digit capital when we don't have it locally. So government needs to support local industries.
For sure. That's, but I mean, I think, and I'm glad you mentioned the capital gains tax because, you know, the government recognized that that tax, investors reacted in an adverse manner to it. And in this case, I think the balance is between protecting local industries, and then there's a question of how many of those local industries there are that we're talking about, versus protecting the common average Nigerian who have to import or who have to pay for those the imported fee, or essentially to raise prices. Isn't that the balance?
What you have to look at is there are allegations on both sides. While the importers are saying that we are going to have our energy security, it's not good to rely on one source. There's also the counter allegation that they are bringing in low standard fuels, which is causing a whole lot of hazards and pollution. And if you look at it, the first question you should ask yourself, why are these people not selling the same products in other countries? The Dangote refinery is not only producing, it's also selling abroad. So what is the issue? And when the Dangote refinery started, they said, oh, the standard was off specs. They had to organize pilgrimage of members of National Assembly and several bodies to show that it's doing the right thing. And the way the product had been accepted worldwide, it shows that something good indeed is coming out of Nigeria. So for someone who has not put anything down, I heard one of them crying recently that they lost $450 million because of the change in the way the business is going on. They are going to lose more. It was the same group of people that were organizing pilgrimage to the Port Harcourt refinery, telling us that it was working, it was producing. So in a proper civilized environment, these boys should be writing statements in police station of what they saw in Port Harcourt, that they were trying to tell us that the refinery is working. It's the same people that are clamoring for this importation. They've put their resources abroad and they are pouring fuel into Nigeria, causing unemployment, causing youth jackpot and everything. So government has a duty to protect local industries.
Certainly.
And those people that put their skin in the game, somebody has put so much money down, you can see the way the price is coming down every day.
Yeah.
The guys bringing from abroad, they don't intend to reduce prices. So, they just want to make profit and go. So government, there's a proven, government, sorry, I just want to give that Dangote has told us they have 310 million liters on ground. What we should do is verifying it, so that even if you are going to give this import license, give it to people who have already invested in those sectors. It should only be for traders. Right. So that if they make profit, they can reinvest the capital also in the sector, so that in the long term benefit for all of us and create job security for our youths.
So look, I just want to give an example here. You've got an electronic device in front of you, a tab. I have a laptop here. You've got a pen in your hand. If producers, domestic producers of electronic tabs or laptops in Nigeria, if there was domestic production that could meet the demand, then none of us would have to import laptops or import any pens or any of those things. Shouldn't we make sure that the domestic producers that are on ground have the capacity to meet demand? And if that was the case, then we wouldn't need any imports. You wouldn't even have to put a tax. Nobody would need to import because the domestic players, isn't that part of the case here, that we are yet to meet the total domestic demand for PMS, and which is why there is still a portion of the demand that has to be met by imports? Is that not, I mean, is that not part of the story here?
No, the way the whole story is going is that there's a clamor that even though we have domestic capacity, we should continue to import. In September last year, we were consuming about 60 million liters. Today is about 34. So what we are trying to see that these imports does not make sense. I'm not saying we should not import. If you must import, create a policy that the people you empower through it are people who are involved in current building of refinery or investing in the sector, not just traders alone. It's the traders that are clamoring for this import. It's not people that have invested. So this is what I'm saying. Government should prioritize those people who have invested or intend to go into that sector, backward integration, and say, okay, if I'm going to give you this license to import, you must promise me within 2-3 years, this is your investment plan. This is what I'm saying. That is the only way to grow. You cannot grow this country by benevolence or trying to make people. These same guys have been ripping us off for how many years? So we should take it serious. We should stand for our local refiners. There's a clear case of 310 million liters on ground. If it's verified, that should be taken in first before you decide to do it. But you don't just throw in for everybody to bring fuel from anywhere. If they bring, we should also make sure the quality is up to specs. So these are what we are saying. We should have people at the table. Government should not be changing policies every day. You just change because the president announced this policy. It's a fiscal policy. One expects if you are going to change a fiscal policy, at least the minimum should be the Minister of Finance. The same agency you asked to go and midwife the policy is not the one telling us the policy has been cancelled. So we don't know what is happening. For investors, such uncertainty is not good for Nigeria. It doesn't make us look serious. I can tell you one secret why we are poor. I say that every time. Because of the uncertainty here, if you are going to get international orders, they don't give Nigerian companies more than 6 months. They tell you because they say the circumstances can change. But people from Togo and that smaller country, they get 5-10 years orders from abroad. The reason is because that allows you to invest in research and development, do scale up your this thing, and because you have a long-term supply. But if it's a short-term, you can only buy and sell. So government needs to support business. If you must change policy, it must start that the industry needs it. Not that it comes from the government. It should start from the people who have invested. If you have put your skin in the game, you should be the person to be consulted. So this is what we are saying as private sector. You must support your own industries. You can see the effort the USA is doing to push back industry. This is what the government should do. And I commend the government on the several policies of what they are doing about saying you cannot export raw materials. You have to have value in the addition in our Greek sector and also in the solid mineral sector. That is the only way we can grow this economy. So if we have been able to crack the refining of petroleum, we need to support every person. It's not only Dangote. There are several other modular refineries. The Boa is building one in Akwa Ibom. There are several other ones. I think we have almost about 10 to 15,000 refinery capacity in other sectors. We should be able to support these people with those resources. The money we are supposed to get from these people who have been importing, the traders, we're supposed to keep part of that money and reinvest it in that sector. So that's why I said we need backward integration. That's the only way we can have our youth back at work.
All right.
And that's the way we can also change the index of the 136 million poverty index that we are growing. We need to take that down so that we can all benefit from the economic reforms of this government.
Well said, sir. We'll see how things work out. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us on this important issue. Mr. Dele Ojo, former president of the National Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. I appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.